Hey, Nation. We are with Anthony Oren out of Nero Consulting in the New York area. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, Harry. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Well, hey, you suggested a topic that we really haven't covered, and it was the IT implications of the war between Ukraine and Russia. You're Ukrainian, I believe. So let me hand it over to you. What's your story?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, yes, I was born in the Ukraine. Um, in fact, Nero, the majority of our team, they were also from the Ukraine. And this Russia-Ukraine war has really hit home for us. A lot of our family and friends are still over there.
Man,
So, what we're seeing on the news is similar to what we're kind of reading through our WhatsApp messages or emails, if possible. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. And I wanted to kind of put a cybersecurity perspective on the Russia versus Ukraine war, because there's a lot of play. It's not just one country versus another. Holistically, it is, but it's so deeply rooted into, the Russian people versus the Ukrainian people. As an example, prior to this war, I'll be very honest, I never told anyone I was Ukrainian. I actually advertised myself as Russian. It was just simpler that way. I don't know about you, but have you really heard much about Ukraine before this war? You knew where it was, right? But
yeah, oh yeah, I knew where it was, and they just I follow politics, and I mean in a kind way. I'm a student of politics. I'm not real ideological, but certainly some of the investigations the last several years. So I feel I know of Ukraine. Sure.
yeah, that definitely put Ukraine on the map. I know what you mean. But my quick origin story is I moved here with my parents in 1990. It was around the time of the Soviet Union's collapse. I was 5 years old. Then my grandparents came, and so on. We literally came here with $500 in my father's pocket. I mean, that was it. We just knew we had to get out and start a new life in America. And that $500 story, it's I don't want to say it's atypical of an immigration story, but it's so prevalent and it's so real. And $500, if you think about it, inflation or no inflation, there's not much you could do with that, right? There's not many job prospects when you have $500 in your pocket. Everyone is scared, but you find a way to do it. My family did it. My father built a better life for me, allowed me to go study computers in college, then grad school, then start my own business. And so it's that type of resilience that kind of extends to the Ukrainian people. And now that this war is happening, I mean, I have so much more respect for my homeland, my Ukrainian people, the resilience. I mean, heck, they're creating Molotov cocktails and throwing them at tanks, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, they're fighting back. I know how to drink cocktails. I don't know how to make Molotov cocktails. It's just a crazy story, and it's very painful at the same time. So I speak Russian.
Sure.
I'm Ukrainian, always identified as Russian just to keep things simple. In fact, I used to joke with my American friends that Ukrainian language sounds like drunk Russian. That's all I know, right? So that was kind of like the quick conversation. But that's because we are so alike. And I don't want to make this a political conversation by any means.
Correct.
Just trying to set the perspective that the Ukrainian people and the Russian people are very much alike. And there's a war going on today, and it's the way I see it. It's two different sides of a war. There's the war of country versus country, the Russian people versus the Ukrainian people, and then there's Putin's war. Putin's war is the evil side. All war is evil, but the evil side and atrocities you are witnessing,
Yeah.
on news, what you're hearing from from maybe local Ukrainians, that's the horrific side of it. And that's outside of the scope of this conversation. You go to a local news channel for that. But then the other side of things were Russian people versus the Ukrainian people, and they're doing what they need to do. And I guess the insight that I'd like to share today is sort of first the misconception that the Russians are now attacking us and all of a sudden they have this power, or this is something new. It's not. This wasn't new in 2016 when we had the Trump administration, when the Russians were on everybody's radar, right? This happened years before. Russians were always in attack mode. I know this as a security professional because for many years, I've reviewed log files, and I see the attacks are coming from notably Russia. We have those other countries as well, but this isn't anything new. It's just been ramped up during this war. And the Russian people, and by Russian people specifically to our industry, Russian hackers, they are very, very skilled. They're tremendously skilled. And so are the Ukrainian people. And I would say, honestly, my feeling is that most people that get into the technology industry, whether it's like MSP, white hat, or you're a ransomware gang in the black hat community, it stems from what actually happened in the 1990s. You had the fall of the Soviet Union, right? The collapse.
Yep.
That collapsed entire economies around many different countries, right? So they had that to recover from. And as you're recovering that through the 90s, much like my perspective of when we were in America, where we were all trying to find jobs, and the most lucrative jobs were technology jobs, right? My father wanted to be a programmer. My uncle everybody wanted to be a programmer. And so everyone was kind of building towards that sector of the economy because that's what paid. And then Y2K happened, right? Devastated a lot of online companies. A lot of businesses went under. That was a tremendous hit to many economies. So in America, we thought, oh, it's just us, Y2K and the bubble burst and the dot-com crash. But I feel that people didn't realize that it affected European countries just as much, specifically Eastern European countries. So here you are, again, back to almost square one. If you were in a position to have a good, lucrative technology job, and now you've just lost it. So now what do you do with that skill set? So you sort of transition to maybe you work behind the desk, and now you work for a company that does sketchy things. Or maybe it was a company that did something legitimate, and then slowly transition to what we know today as ransomware gangs, and what's really the underbelly of the cybersecurity world, where a lot of bad things happen.
Yep.
And so, as an MSP, it's our professional responsibility. As a business owner, it's my responsibility as trusted technology security advisors. We have to keep our clients safe. So part of that information is there's a lot of bad things happening out there. Cybersecurity is at an all-time importance as far as cybersecurity hygiene and having all the right tools in place. But at the same time, it is being ramped up. And it's nothing new that Russians are attacking us, yes. But now it's ramped up to the point where you're actually having skilled hackers transition completely from maybe what was once like a white hat activity, maybe a blue collar job, to now I have to defend my country. And it sounds like I'm more speaking from the side of the Russians, and maybe I am because they're sort of forced in this position, right? It's one country versus another. It's in your nationalistic pride. Us Ukrainians, much like Russians, much like many Eastern Europeans, have a lot of pride. So if we have to defend our country, we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah.
The attacks are ramped up by Russians towards Ukraine, but it's bleeding over to US companies, right? Which is why we're seeing all these attacks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do this, Anthony. I want to circle back to you not in the near term and get an update from you, okay? Because this is a dynamic situation. You're the first person to cover it for us. And I appreciate you giving the context and perspective, right? As I age along in life, I now like context. Don't just tell me the answer to question 3 is C, right? Pick C and answer the quiz question. I like the context of it. So I appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. And just my final thoughts is, we as cybersecurity professionals, we have to continue to focus on the fundamentals, but at the same time, don't trust every source. For example, charities. I want everyone to donate to any causes that they feel is appropriate.
Yes.
But at the same time, be careful where you're donating. Be sure it's a legitimate place. And so, yeah.
No, I echo that. Thank you. Thank you for adding that on. I echo that. And folks, give as you're able to help support the people. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Harry.